Governance, Web Content Management System, and Help Desk User Support Training came out of the questionnaires, and for non-IT staff, very loud and clear, basic IT skills and literacy, Office Productivity Suite, and software troubleshooting. So I'm looking at, as a point for discussion, we touched on it a number of times earlier today. In what way would the training center deliver this training? Ongoing online training is an option, and you can very conveniently lie down for it. One of the other, in your office or elsewhere. Don't do it here. Everyone, please stay seated. The other thing that was mentioned by one of the countries is to train power users, which I thought was a good idea. Workshops, such as now, so you can choose which one of these blue figures you are. And a train the trainers approach were the other things. And some of the other things that came out were essentially, the question is, what is the best way to train people? So a combination of face-to-face, but reinforced with ongoing training, and with ongoing, the best way to do it is online, probably through an e-learning environment. So how do we want to be trained is the question I'd like to pose to you. I only found a white man's hand for this slide. Doesn't represent me or many other people here, but at least he's taking notes. So here are some talking points. How will what we have heard the last couple of days on customs and tax factor into the training requirements? What does regional integration mean for training? What communities of practice in terms of training have already formed in the region? Do we have any champions already in this area, and can we huddle around those solutions?
I'd like to add, one more point is, we're going to have, even though this is a donor-funded activity, there are going to be limited resources and limited budgets in terms of the training program. And the one thing that I'd also like to kind of put on the table and try and get some reactions to is really the notion of prioritization, because the requirements that have been identified are quite substantive. And how does, A is the least common, the common denominator in terms of solutions that most countries have, but at the same time also ensuring that everyone gets an equal voice into the training plan and training program. So really like to hear from you all on going forward. And please also reflect on what we just said about the earlier discussion on the Regional Training and Support Center. And we had agreed that this is going to be, at least what came out of there was that this was going to be a virtual effort. So how would these training needs that have been articulated by you in light of what we spoke about on the Regional Training and Support Center also be reflected? So it's just a little more food for thought, but as you'll start reacting, maybe you want to give some thought to those pieces also.
I think that a variety of methods can be adopted. It all depends on what type of training is being delivered. Some of them can be via video conference. We have sat in a session, say, where we had remotely persons were doing presentations. So depending on the nature of the training, we can use various methods of delivery. For example, some technical training with the participants may have to do actual practical work. So then for that type of training, you may need to convene at a particular location. But for other purposes, you could be basically anywhere and deliver the training, and the participants maybe follow. Like for functional issues or sessions, that it might be easier to do it that way. So I think a variety of methods should not restrict ourselves to any one method. We'll basically utilize what is available and what is cost effective. But on the other hand, we need to maximize the real purpose of the training, and the persons who have participated must benefit So as I said before, for technical things where practical work is required, then we can convene for those sessions at a particular central location.
So, but in general, there's no objection to online training?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
That's good.
But now you have mentioned online training and being cost effective. You can consider, I don't know if you have identified tools and so on, but I know that the open source tool Moodle is a very cost effective. It's open source, it's free. The University of West Indies Open Campus, they use it to facilitate throughout the region, and it could be something to be considered.
If I may make a point, before the training could be effective, I think fundamentally there needs to be harmonization. It makes no sense for we to be given training or for we to accept training and each and every one of us are speaking in a different language or our systems are not integrated. So I think critically we should consider the issue of harmonization so that we can get greater benefits from the training.
That's certainly the case for more advanced training. And you know, in other cases, I think, you know, just to take the example of the basic Office Microsoft training. Now, I'm not sure whether this is something that, you know, SEMCAR will choose to focus on. You know, that's something that a variety of approvals processes will focus. But assuming that it is, assuming that, you know, basic Office productivity, Microsoft Office skills will be made available to end users within the ministries. You know, that's certainly something where you could buy a bundle of e-learning modules from Microsoft and make it available, you know, and that's something you just park on the server or park it in the cloud. Let's say, now I'm really just talking out loud, but let's say this is a virtual training center and the e-learning modules are parked in the cloud, and you know, Microsoft Office is there and it gets changed every 2 or 3 years, but you know, it's available for internal end users and you would get it at a lower price because it apparently seems to be an issue for many countries. So that's just kind of a practical example of where this sort of thing might go. Of course, once you get to some more advanced, more technical things, their harmonization would be an issue, but let's say for database management, you know, a spade is a spade. So, so that would be one way in which these things could be harmonized.